The Hornets get back to their winning ways against Atlanta. Huge victory for their playoff hopes. I'll tell you why. I'll tell you everything you need to know about this win. Plus, we'll hear from you, our Sicko celebrations. That's all ahead on this edition of Locked On Hornets.
You are Locked On Hornets, your daily Charlotte Hornets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
In a minute, cuz we live.
Welcome into another edition of Locked On Hornets. I'm your host, Doug Branson. You can catch all of my thoughts on this game and every game at everyhornetsboxscore.com. Thanks for making us your first listen of the day. Thanks for making us the #1 podcast network in the country, in the world, in the universe. We really appreciate it. So many people from Charlotte, from Detroit, maybe from Atlanta on this episode. People are converging on this podcast right now to figure out what's gotten into these Charlotte Hornets. And we appreciate all of you for listening, for watching. Subscribe to the audio podcast if you're watching on YouTube. Click the like button, click the subscribe button. We're always having some kind of fun here. I say we because I'm typically joined by my good friend and my host with the most, Walker Mail from WFNZ 12 to 3 on the Wes and Walker Show. But it wasn't the Wes and Walker Show tonight. It was Walker on FanDuel Sports Network with Shannon Spake doing the coverage there of a Hornets victory 110-107 against the Atlanta Hawks. Settle in because we've got a lot to talk about. First, I want to tell you that today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. So the Hornets do get the win. It's by 3. They were up as many as 19 in this game. Looked like they had everything under control. And during the 9-game winning streak, I noted that the Hornets had a penchant for getting a lead and really just like a cobra, like some kind of anaconda, they would just like get their grip on a team and never let go. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. It would go from 10 and just slowly build to 15 to 20. And that's how they were getting these dominant victories during the streak. Some of them are close, but they just seem to be consistently controlling games. And in this one, it looked like they were going to do the same thing. But Atlanta, to their credit, did not give up. Dyson Daniels found an advantage by the Hornets not guarding him from 3, and he was able to get to the rim. And they put ball pressure on the Charlotte Hornets late in this game that caused the Hornets to cough it up a little bit too much. And I thought the Hornets' legs got heavy. This was the final game before the All-Star break, and after doing all that winning. And then you had the emotional game against the Detroit Pistons, the brawl at the box, the bedlam at Spectrum, as Caroline Fenton called it on Yahoo Sports Daily, the other show that I produce. It was crazy. You had the suspensions come down earlier today. 4 games for Miles, 4 games for Moussa, 2 games for Duren, 7 games for Beef Stew. I'll talk about that a little bit later in the show. I've got some thoughts on that. You heard from Walker. If you want to hear Walker's thoughts, he was on earlier today on this feed with his thoughts. So I'll give a few of those in a minute. But let's stick with this game for a moment because it was a big win. Not only because they gutted it out, not only because they didn't have Miles and Moussa, 2 very important starters. Miles, release valve on offense, putting his head down, getting to the rim, playing a little bit better lately, more efficient, better decision-making offensively. He's also a decent defender. And then Moussa has just been the heart and soul of this team. Like Kon, I think adding Kon and his shooting has been the biggest X factor for the team and a big reason why they propelled themselves to where they are. But Moussa is, I don't know, 1A, whatever you want to call it. Like he's been the heart and soul, his offensive rebounding, his energy, his defense. And so you think pulling him out of this game in particular against Atlanta, the Hornets just played Atlanta a few nights ago, and that was with Moussa, and it was an offensive. It looked like a play-in game offensively, and then a lot of these games have looked like playoff games. Detroit physical playoff game. So I thought, man, this is going to be tough. High scoring, could be high scoring, could be a lot of offensive rebounds for Okongwu, for Londale. But instead, you had the folks that were subbing in, Tijan Salon, Kalkbrenner getting a few more minutes, Grant Williams, subs into the starting lineup at power forward. You have PJ Hall in this game as well. Kalkbrenner moves into the starting lineup. PJ Hall backs him up. And everyone combined to rebound the basketball. 11 points, 10 rebounds for PJ Hall. Grant Williams, 7 points, 8 rebounds, 5 important assists. And Kalkbrenner, multiple block game for him. I thought he did a good job controlling the first half of this game. And then PJ Hall and Grant Williams, really great job in the second half to help out. So it was all of those little role players, okay? But then we have to talk about the stars of the team. LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller combining for 31 points in the second half. They put the team on their back when the legs got heavy, when the shots were hard to come by, when the defensive pressure from Atlanta stepped up. It was LaMelo Ball knocking down 2 of his 7 3-pointers. I believe it was 2 of those in the fourth quarter. And then Brandon Miller not only hitting 3-point shots, it was 2 3-pointers for Brandon Miller and LaMelo Ball. So 4 combined 3-pointers from them in the fourth quarter in crunch time. But then Brandon Miller, so the game's falling apart for Charlotte at the end. They're just coughing it up, pressure, Kon turns it over, Brandon turns it over. And then they just couldn't get into their offense early enough, and they couldn't get good shots. Melo, up against the shot clock, has to throw up a grenade. It bounces, long bounce out, looks like a 2v1 opportunity for the Atlanta Hawks with under 1 minute to go. Looks like an opportunity for them to go up 1. Okongwu drives in transition. Brandon Miller somehow backpedals, gets himself into position to go straight up, no foul. Okongwu bobbles it, maybe goes off of Brandon Miller's back. I don't know. Quinn Snyder challenged like 17 plays in this game. I'm glad the Hornets just quickly inbounded. I think it was still, I looked at one of the replays. It still looked like it was off Okongwu's hand. But man, I mean, Quinn won like 9,000 challenges in this game, so I wouldn't put it past him to win that one too. But they get the ball inbounded, then it goes to free throws. Kon hits 2 beauties. And then Kon Knueppel. Let me just move right on to Kon Knueppel. So I gave Brandon and LaMelo the love. They were a huge part of this victory. I did mention LaMelo, 7 3-pointers. I mean, so much of this game and so much of this season has been 3-point shooting, covering up, turnover sins, sometimes defensive sins, although that's been a lot better lately. But the shooting that this team has can really help them fight through a lot of those issues. And Kon did it in the first half. He finished with 18 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, but he did a lot of his work in the first half. And he used every trick in the book to get open. I mean, he was fading to his left, moving to his right, DHO, pull up immediately. It was incredible. I mean, left hand to right hand dribble to get into the lane and then fire it into the corner. I mean, some of the passes that he makes. Like the one thing that Kon has to work on is dribbling out of pressure. Like that hurt him at the end of this game. You know, I think like pass recognition, understanding where how defenses are moving before he passes, and then handling ball pressure are going to be 2 big points of emphasis for him. You know, coming out of Duke, being an off-ball player, Evan mentioned that. Evan Hale mentioned that in the Every Hornets box score chat. It was always going to be an adjustment, but I think that's going to be a big point of emphasis for him in the offseason. But Kon Knueppel, man, I want to say this, like, offensively, he's a monster. He's so impactful, and you just can't he comes into a game in the zone, and you can't knock him out of the zone anymore. I mean, maybe there were moments early in the season where he looked shaky in summer league and then early in the regular season. But not anymore, man. He just comes in. I think he made 4 3-pointers in the first quarter. Talk about setting a tone. Talk about being aggressive. Talk about not getting on your heels and saying, LaMelo, help us. Please start the game well for us. No. It's Kon Knueppel. It's Brandon Miller. It's LaMelo. Everyone. And Kon's dribble moves and Brandon's killer crossover that he's unleashing lately. These 2 star-level players now unleashing ball moves has made the Hornets an actual threat in the half court. Here's a stat for you. The Hornets are currently 17th in the league in half-court efficiency at 97.1 points per play, according to Cleaning the Glass. That's up 17th. That's up from dead last in the league last season in half-court offense. They haven't been this good in the half court since when? The last time they made the play-in tournament in 21, 22. And Kon Knueppel doing it offensively, helping that half court, but also look at the very last play for Atlanta. The ball gets inbounded to Jalen Johnson, and Kon bottles him up, makes him pass the ball. Okongwu throws up a prayer, it misses. CJ McCollum doesn't get off his prayer in time, and it misses anyway, but he didn't get it off in time. The Hornets won the scramble plays on defense, but Kon Knueppel just stepping up in such a big way on both ends of the floor. He's been the biggest X factor. I admitted today, well, I mean, I've said it on the show before, like Moussa keeps proving me wrong. I said he's undersized. A lot of people, I wasn't the only one. People were like, that's an undersized for a center that can't shoot, that's undersized. I don't know if it's going to work. Well, it worked. Okay, I can admit and not only I want to admit when players, go above and beyond and outside of their scouting report. That's how teams get better. Teams don't get better when players just do what you think they're going to do, or worse. I mean, that's what the Hornets situation has been for a long time, bringing these players in. They actually go worse than the scouting report. They go in the wrong direction. Moussa didn't. He's been a big reason why the Hornets are winning. I'm trying. Walker won't sell me any of his stock in Moussa, but I'm trying to buy. But Kon Knueppel has been the biggest X factor on this team. Obviously, Brandon stepping up, LaMelo being healthy. So many. I mean, you don't go on this kind of winning run without multiple things being the thing. But Kon Knueppel, I mean, just huge. Okay, I'm going to tell you why this was such an important win. Then I want to talk about the suspensions, how it's going to impact the Hornets when they get back from the All-Star break. Plus, we'll hear from you, your Sicko celebrations. That's all ahead on Locked On Hornets. Today's episode of Locked On Hornets is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. The Winter Games, they are officially here, and if you're anything like Walker and I, you are locking in for all of the events you only get to see on the biggest stage every 4 years. I just saw Jordan Stoltz win the gold medal for the U.S. in the 1,000-meter speed skating. He's amazing. It's going to be fun to watch him continue to pile up the golds. That's why following the Winter Games on FanDuel makes sense. From medal counts to individual events to finding your angle on the sports you care about most, FanDuel gives you more ways to stay connected to the action. The drama of the curling matches that start slow and then somehow they get intense fast. The rocks start flying. The hammers start hammering. Speed skating races decided by inches, although Stolz wasn't. He won it by nearly a second. Hockey games that feel different right from the opening face-off. Even niche events become must-watch when you're fully locked in to the competition. FanDuel keeps the entire Olympic experience engaging from start to finish. The Winter Games, they're on, and there's no better way to follow them than with FanDuel. FanDuel, play your game. Today's episode is also brought to you by Indeed. Hiring isn't just about finding someone willing to take the job. It's also about finding the right person with the right background who can actually help your business move forward. And if you want candidates who match what you're looking for, Indeed Sponsored Jobs is the move, because instead of hoping the right person stumbles across your post, Indeed helps you match with quality candidates by boosting your job listing to the people who fit your specific criteria, like skills, certifications, that's important, and location. If I were hiring someone, I wouldn't just want someone who could help me. I want someone with real experience who can jump right in. That's what I like about Indeed. You can get specific and targeted information, exactly what you need in a candidate. It saves time because you're spending less energy sorting through all of those mismatches and finding the matches. And with sponsored jobs, your post gets seen by candidates who are actually a fit. And here's a stat that says it all. You know, we love stats on this show. In the minute that I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. More Locked On Hornets ahead. Back here on Locked On Hornets, thank you so much for making us your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. You already live your team every day. Now it's time to take it up a level and go ad-free. Join the Everydayer Club today and get Locked On Hornets with no interruptions. Well, I mean, sometimes I'll interrupt Walker, but no interruptions to you, members only Discord access and more for just $5 a month or $50 a year. Go to lockedonhornets.supercast.com. That's lockedonhornets.supercast.com, or you can check the link in the show notes to learn more. So, important win for the Charlotte Hornets because that's it for the Atlanta Hawks. That's the 4 games that you have to play against Atlanta. And the Charlotte Hornets go 3-1, so they lock up that critical tiebreaker on an opponent that is going to be right there, scratching and clawing for play-in positioning. And so that's 3-1. You're over Atlanta. You move into the 9th spot in the play-in, and you keep yourself in shouting distance of the 7th or 8th seed. Super important there because you get, if you're the 7th or the 8th seed, you get 2 cracks at the apple. You get 2 opportunities to get yourself into a playoff series. And as you'll remember, the last 2 times the Hornets were in the play-in, they got bounced in that first game, and it was the only game because they were in the bottom seeds. And so giving themselves 2 opportunities, could set them up for a magical playoff run. And honestly, I mean, I know a lot of people were coming out of that game against the Pistons going, hey, that would be fun. Doing 7 of those would be fun. I don't care about the odds. I don't care that it's 8v1. Just give me 7 of those against the Detroit Pistons. At least 4. You get at least 4. And so, look, if you get 2 shots at it and you come out of the second shot, you're most likely going to end up playing the Detroit Pistons. Speaking of the Pistons, the reason the Hornets were a little thin down low and had to call up Tijan Salan and PJ Hall was because the NBA announced their suspensions for the fight that went down between the Detroit Pistons and the Charlotte Hornets. As I said, Moussa and Miles, they get 4 apiece. Jalen Duren gets 2. And then Isaiah Stewart, for coming off the bench and being a repeat offender, gets the heftiest fine at 7. My thoughts on the suspensions. Generally, if you watch the episode where we tried to predict what the suspensions were going to be, I said 5 for Moose, I said 3 for Miles, and then 2 for Duren. So I got Duren, and you average my predictions for Moose and Miles, and you get to 4. So I was wrong about both, but also in a certain way right. And being right in a certain way is the best kind of being right. And then I said 10 for Isaiah Stewart, and he got 7. So I think generally the punishments were in line with what I thought. I think they were fair, giving anyone except for Stewart, because of the repeat offender, because he came off the bench. That's a huge point of emphasis. Giving any of them more than 10 would have been, I think, a little bit overboard. But here's the thing. This is what I want to take away from the fight. And what I think Moussa Diabate, in the apology that he issued on social media, I think what he takes away in the comments that I've heard from Coach Lee and everyone else that has commented on this one, I think this is the big takeaway. Standing up for your teammates, good. Being physical, good. Proving to a team that's trying to bully you that you won't be bullied, good. Going after someone 2-3 times, not being able to be restrained, and then taking the fight that close to the fans in the stands, not good. And could have completely derailed the Charlotte Hornets season. Like, just imagine a scenario where that thing spills there's 2 scenarios. One in which the fight actually spills into the stands and a fan gets hurt. Okay, now you're maybe talking about 20 games for Moose. Or second scenario, it spills out of the fans, no one gets hurt, but a fan maybe, has a few too many brewskis, suddenly thinks they're part of the action. A big fan of Moussa Diabate, they stick up the fingers in the air and decide to get in on the action and try to go after Jalen Duren, or they try to go after one of these other Pistons players that was in the fracas. And then that just sort of spirals out of control. And then all of a sudden, again, you could be talking more than 10 games for Moussa, for Miles, for any of these players. That would have been devastating. I mean, we can talk about the impact. Look, the Hornets have to come back from the break and play the Rockets and the Cavs and then the Wizards. So Rockets and the Cavs right off the rip, and you don't have Moussa or Miles. I think you can get away with it against Atlanta. It'll be interesting to see if they can get away with it against Houston and Cleveland. And you're coming off the break. Maybe you're fresh, maybe you're rested, maybe the culture is so good that you don't have any kind of layover and you're playing a Rockets team that has some age on it. It's a mixture of age and youth. Maybe Kevin Durant's a little sleepy after the All-Star break and you can catch the Rockets sleeping again and get another win. Maybe, but it's going to be tough. So to lose them for 10 or more games when you are talking about margins of a few games here and there for play-in positioning, that would have been huge. So, and what I read from Moussa's apology leads me to believe that he understood the gravity of the situation, that he looked back on it and had regrets. And regrets equal I'm learning. It typically means I'm learning something. Now, reading what Miles had to say on Instagram, I'm a little less sure that he's really learned something from this. And honestly, it's a little bit of history too with him, the headband situation, the play-in game, obviously the off-court stuff. There's a question of when is the message going to set in that, hey, you are a leader of this team. There is a moment in time to defend teammates. And then there's a moment in time to say, hey, I've got to be in this game. I'm more important than going and finding, Jalen Duren and trying to throw a punch at him. I'm more important than that to this team. I don't know that he's ever going to get that message. But his apologies on Instagram and some of the comments that he made right after, I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. Because look, the pressurized moments for the Charlotte Hornets aren't going away. They're going to be in these types of games all season long because that's how they're playing. And they're playing like they want to be taken seriously. And so I don't think this is the last time that Miles is going to be faced with this situation, that Moussa or anyone else is going to be faced with this situation. LaMelo had to go through a little bit of this against the Detroit Pistons, where he would often foul out because he would get frustrated, and they would be the ones frustrating him. And I thought in this last game against Detroit, he learned that lesson. He's playing like a lot more mature player. I'm seeing him argue with the refs less. I'm seeing him get less frustrated with his own mistakes. He's not infallible. There's still a little bit here and there, but he's not taking himself out of basketball games. LaMelo is learning. I think Moose is going to learn. I hope Miles does too. The other thing that I'm taking away from these suspensions is I'm just glad that the NBA didn't go overboard and really fine-tooth comb this thing and look at what LaMelo did and said, hey, you were involved too, or Kon being, trying to, get in there with Moose. And I'm just really glad that they didn't hand out one gamers to them, and go letter of the law on this thing, that they looked at the situation, they looked at the context and said, okay, this is enough. So I thought all in all fair. I still think Jalen Duren initiated it, but again, I don't think that should result in more games. He initiated it, and then look, he backed off, and people want to make fun of him for that and say he didn't, and I said, I joked on the last show he didn't want the smoke. Okay, he didn't, but it cost him 2 less games. It was the smart move. I mean, you want to fight or you want to be in basketball games so that you can help your team win. Jalen Duren chose to be in basketball games and help himself win. I think Moussa next time he'll choose that too. So all in all, I think it was a fair situation, and I think the Hornets, all the statements that I hear from the Hornets, they're focused on the right things. They've learned the lessons, and they've internalized like, hey, you've got to stand up for yourself. That's what they did. I think Detroit will be a little bit more thoughtful the next time. It's going to be a fair fight the next time. And hopefully not a fight at all. Hopefully just keep it on the court and everybody gets to keep playing games. Okay, let's send this over to the final segment, and this is the most important one because we get to hear from you, your Sicko celebrations. We get to hear from the brigade, and they're rowdy tonight because the Hornets get another dub, the last one before the All-Star break. Let's talk about it coming up. Today's episode of Locked On Hornets is brought to you by our friends at Game Time. There is nothing like being in an NBA arena, the crowd, the energy, the moments. Getting tickets, though, that part hasn't always been so simple, but it can be. Game Time has become the go-to app for scoring tickets fast without the hassle. It puts the advantage back where it belongs, and that's with you, the fans. Pull up the Game Time app, pick an upcoming game. You get tickets locked in within minutes. I love seeing the all-in pricing up front. I don't want to be surprised by fees at checkout, and with Game Time, I just see it all up front. Being able to see the view from the seat, that's an upfront sort of version of that too. Like I get to see the price, I get to see the seat, the view before buying. It makes my decision easy. Zone deals, they stand out. And Game Time you choose a section, Game Time picks the seats, and then you save. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download that Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. That's Locked On, LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today, and remember, it's gametime.co, not .com. Game Time! More Locked On Hornets ahead. Last segment here on the Locked On Hornets podcast, and we go to you, the sickos out there in the Sicko Brigade. If you want to be part of it, join subtext.com/LockedOnHornets. The link is in the show notes. Join the Sicko Brigade. Tell me who you are. Give me your nickname, which is your favorite Sicko Hornets name. We've got so many great ones. So you can join the Sicko Brigade. That's where the satchel is, where we do the mailbag segment. And that's where we do the Sicko celebrations and the lamentations. So let's get to it. This one, I've got some time here so I can read out some names. Schumann of the 22nd Mullins Regiment, one of the oldest Sickos in the Sicko Brigade. Not oldest by age, but by dedication to this podcast. Schumann says, he texted the GIF from Tommy Boy. Wow, that was close. Need a break after this. Kon is going to show out this weekend. Yeah, before the game tipped off, the Hornets gave him a ceremonial money ball because he is going to be busy this weekend with the money ball in the three-point contest. But I think he's also in the Shooting Stars contest. He's also in the Rising Stars Challenge. I mean, this guy is going to be everywhere in LA, and it's going to be fantastic because so many people want to talk about Kon Knueppel, which means so many people want to talk about the Charlotte Hornets, and he's such a great representative. I wish LaMelo hadn't been bogged down by the injuries and been able to get into a groove early on, and maybe with the Hornets winning, could have, I think, gotten enough respect from the media to pull out an all-star bid. Hopefully next season, Kon, LaMelo, Brandon, all three all-stars. I mean, so you have to do the work before the season. You have to do it in the season before you're elected to the all-star game. So the Hornets are doing that now, and all they have to do is get off to a great start next season, finish this thing out, get off to a great start next season, possibly at least two all-stars in the game. I think that's certainly a possibility. And if they get off to a huge, 10-1, 15-1, something crazy, maybe there is some discussion about three Hornets. I'm thinking crazy. I'm thinking huge here because I'm in the Sicko Brigade and we're all celebrating. Got to work on finishing games, says Davis of the 8th Bismack Brigade. Yeah, Davis, listen, they've been better. I think in this one you could see the heavy legs. I think the emotions of the Pistons game coupled with losing the pieces that they lost. And I think, just getting to that break. To me, I look at the close of that game and I say, damn, they did what it took to get that win and not think about the break. To me, that was a mental finish to the game, particularly by Brandon Miller and then Kon. And by the way, Brandon Miller, 53 consecutive free throws, tying Kemba Walker's free throw record. Shout out to EC and Dell for laying out on the commentary. He was dead silent on the commentary. EC plays a little fast and loose with the jinxing, right? Sometimes it's like he's trying to get out in front of it and not make it a thing. So I'm just going to talk about it, and I'm going to do it consistently so you don't blame me. But then he'll do it against opponents as if he does believe in it. I don't know whether he believes in it or he doesn't believe in it, but I say mad respect for both EC and Dell for just laying out. It's the perfect game rule. You don't talk to the pitcher. You don't even look at the pitcher. So they laid out. It was, from a broadcast perspective, I know it was eating the truck up because it's dead silence. You hear a little bit of the crowd, and some people like it like that, but it can create an awkward experience. But they said, don't care. This is a big moment. And they let Brandon Miller have it, and he achieved it. So he ties Kemba Walker, 53 consecutive free throws. That's the franchise record. Now he's got to wait the whole break until that Rockets game to get a crack at actually breaking the record. And of course, Kemba being on the sidelines, a member of the Charlotte Hornets coaching staff, makes it even more special. And then Dell is still now tied for second. So Dell is in that category too. So that's cool. All right. Next one here from Andrew of the 31st Rambus Brigade, who says, PJ Hall really stepped up when we needed him to. Otherwise, I'm glad we don't play again for a week because it's going to take me that long to unclench. Yeah, it was tight. It was tight. PJ Hall, man, just pure effort. And he looked like Moussa out there at times. Not quite athletic enough to get some of those alley-oops that were being thrown to him. Dell was getting on him about like trying to dunk it. It's like, just get it in there and tip. Like sometimes the intensity it goes a little bit beyond the execution for PJ Hall. But man, yeah, you got to give it up to him, stepping in immediately and double. And I think those are both career, maybe not the points, but the rebound certainly career high for him. Great game by PJ Hall. Let's go with Roger of the 23rd Trey Man Division. Doug, another Sicko celebration. This win was a sign of maturity from the guys. They did not let the events that happened at the Detroit game distract them from winning. Shout out to Grant Williams and Kalkbrenner for slotting in the starting five nicely. Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. This one is from 864. I got to look and see if there's a nickname here. Hartley. Okay, I'm going to put this in the notes, and you are of the Troy Daniels 30th, I'm going to say 30th Miracle Division. I'll put that in the notes, Hartley. Thank you for joining the Sicko Brigade. 10 out of 11 felt impossible a month ago, but here we are. We've just got to keep knocking down threes until the Buzz City Brawlers get back. I thought Kalk and PJ had great games. Yeah, look, I talked about it earlier in the show. 3-point shooting, covering sins. This team is finally a team full of shooting, despite not having a lot of shooting bigs. I'm going to count PJ Hall getting fouled from three. I think he's hit two before. I'm going to count that. It's the closest thing the Hornets have to a shooting center. Grant Williams can play some small ball five and can certainly hit threes. So they have a big in Grant Williams. But yeah, 10 out of 11 wins. Insane. The consistency that they played with, their ability to fight through the turnovers and not let that stuff frustrate them and still, play well offensively is crazy. Sloppy win, but a win nonetheless, says Sean of the 5th Book Night Division. That's right. Listen, I heard you kids like them sloppy. Sometimes you got to get them sloppy. There's nothing wrong with that. A win's a win, baby. Well, I collect sort of game blurbs on every Hornets box score to try to remember because you do 82 of these things, and it's like, okay, what happened in game number 25? Who the hell knows? So I try to keep a collection, but still, like, generally, people are not going to look back and say, they're going to say Hornets 3-1 versus the Hawks. So sloppy win, but a good win. And listen, these guys are tired. I mean, these guys have given, particularly this team, with the effort that they've shown and having to play above their talent level. This team does not have a current all-NBA level star player. LaMelo sometimes plays like it. Brandon sometimes plays like it. Kon's going to get there. Brandon, I think, could get there. LaMelo certainly has every tool in the tool belt to get there at some point. But none of them are. This is a team effort. This is 3 guys scoring 20 points consistently. This is 4 guys scoring 15 or more when Miles is in the game. I did a Stangin' or Clangin' on every Hornets box score where I showed where everyone's game score has been on the season and where it's trending over the last 5 games. I'm going to try to do that every week, everyhornetsboxscore.com if you want to go sign up for that. And it's amazing to see the consistency in the game score week to week and how spread out it is on this team. This is not a team carried by Luka or Kevin Durant or Nikola Jokic. Like, this is a team that needs everyone all the time raring to go. And that has to wear on a team eventually. And good thing they're young. Obviously, that helps. But, you know, the legs look tired tonight. This one from Rocky from Salisbury said, we would have choked this one away 2 months ago. Yep. And then finally, not once, but twice has Eric Collins given us a hilarious call after a Dyson Daniels air ball. Oh my gosh, what was the call? I don't know. I may have noted it in the game notes. I noted a couple of his calls, which were, I mean, EC was on one tonight. I mentioned them laying out. And then he said when Quinn double challenged, so he won the challenge on a Grant 3-point attempt that was called a foul. He won that one, jump ball, tapped out to Grant in clean air. Alexander Walker chases him down, fouls him, another challenge, and Eric Collins goes, "It's a school night, Quinn." I was feeling that because I have to get up early in the morning too. But yeah, Dyson Daniels, look, I mean, he did a good job with the floater game, but his shooting is way, way, way off. But yeah, I mean, they left him alone to guard, and to the Hornets' credit, they were able to really slow down Jalen Johnson, who'd averaged, like, in the previous 3 games, it averaged like 34 points against them. 34! And in this one, what did Jalen Johnson finish with? I mean, he had a good fourth quarter, but he finished with, Jalen Johnson finished with 19, 13 rebounds, 9 assists, nearly a triple-double. But they bottled up the scoring, and only 1 of 4 from 3. That's all you can ask for. So thank you to everyone from the Sicko Brigade for helping me out there. An important win. Walker and I will be back to talk about it more tomorrow. Sign up for the Everydayer Club. Check out our sponsors. Support them because they support us. Every Hornets box score. Wes and Walker. You know the deal. It's getting crazy. People are... we really thank everyone. Everyone that's new to the show, welcome. We have a good time here. We have a big dub hat. We dress up in costumes sometimes. We're just Hornet sickos, man. We've been in the cave for a long time, and now we're kind of like, oh, the light, it's so bright. But we're here, and we're gonna be here through the rest of the season. Thank you. Go Hornets. Go America. We'll see you tomorrow. Let's storm Charlotte.